All right, let's get the show on the road. Entertainment Roundup is back. And there's a couple of stories I want to talk about. Some of the stories that you guys have followed, some of the stories I have followed. And I might as well just get started on the one story that I actually want to follow. I've read it on the papers, and that is Jason Pierre-Paul. As you guys know, he was the 26-year-old football player from the Giants. And he had a first press conference in a while. I believe he did practice with the team with the Giants for a while. There's no indication. I don't think he had made the plane trip with the Giants. I know they had scheduled to play a football game this weekend. I believe it's New Orleans. Um, I was kind of curious what he had to say, what he was going to say, and um, I picked up the Daily News just for that reason. I wanted to read what it said in the Daily News. I'm not going to go into many details of what's been said, but needless to say, he was saying a little stuff I expected him to say when it comes to that situation. He feels great. He feels blessed. He's already won the battle. And while he's saying this and while I'm reading what he is saying, I cannot keep my eyes over his hand. And look, we have heard many stories ever since it was reported that he had and he have nearly blew all his fingers off by playing firecrackers on the 4th of July. And it was reported that it was not good, that he lost a tip of one of his fingers, I believe his index finger. He have lost an entire finger entirely. His thumb was damaged. He have suffered nerve damage. Just all sorts of crazy stuff. And yet he was still determined to play football this season. In fact, he is still determined to play football. And yet, after I saw the picture, and it is very, very graphic, I just couldn't believe it doesn't even look like a hand anymore. His hand is swollen still. It looked like it's been broken in 3 places. His thumb, his thing, that finger don't even look like in the finger. It looks big and just it looks like it's 2 fingers mashed into one. He's missing one finger. His thumb looks severely damaged. Um, the fact that he still got his fingers, the remaining fingers, is something I cannot comprehend. That's how bad the injury have looked. Seeing that first picture, and the Daily News did a good job of actually showing you his hand in broad details how bad his finger is, and I kind of wonder, can he actually catch with that hand? Can he actually do anything with that hand? And that's the thing. I think the Giants even is was concerned for a good moment because they didn't know how badly his injuries were. There was even reports that it was worse than what they anticipated. Yet there has also been reports about a few days ago that he has signed a contract with the Giants. Now, what did that mean in the long run? It doesn't really mean much because contracts in football are never guaranteed unless it's actually put in writing. So he may have this contract and he may just, actually be cut the next season or 2 seasons later. The football, NFL football period is all about performing at that particular year. And if you don't perform, you're going to be gone or you're going to be asked to redo your contract. This has Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning is one of the most lucrative quarterbacks, a Hall of Fame quarterback. Yet, because of the season he had with Denver, he actually had to take less to continue to play in Denver. This is a quarterback that has constantly have been consistent during the regular season. And say what you want about the postseason, I understand that, but many people consider that what matters the most. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Yet he had to take a pay cut to continue playing for Denver. So that's how much loyalty really goes in terms of the NFL. It's really much more about what have you done for me lately than basically giving them a contract which they can't get out. Unlike baseball where you can have a guaranteed contract for 6 years and they can't move you unless you ask to be traded, they can just cut you at any given moment. And that's the thing that many players are not very happy with, but that's what separates their sport from pretty much most other sports where they have these guaranteed contracts. So him getting a contract from the Giants really don't really mean anything. It really don't. It just means that he's just got a contract. He had pretty much, it's not going to be the same as he would have gotten if he hadn't done his injuries. And the contract they was going to give him was pretty much a franchise contract. He was set to strike gold with the Giants, but that did not happen. But who knows? Maybe he will surprise me. Maybe he will surprise Giants fans by not only coming back this season but having a great season. To me, if the way I saw his injuries, the way I saw it, I doubt he can be effective for the Giants. I really do. I don't know if he can go out there and perform the way he can with the way his hands felt. It felt like he's nowhere close to 100%. Like I said, his hand is in bad shape. His hand looks swollen in many areas. It looks like he can't even. He looks like he needs a special kind of gloves just to get a grip. That's how concerned I am. And again, I seen this. My friends saw the pictures, and I'm like, this is why they constantly told us when we was kids not to play with firecrackers because they're so unpredictable. They may have a shorter fuse, and before you know it, we're one of those kids who lost their entire hands because we decided to play with firecrackers at a young age. And trust me, I'm just as guilty as anybody else because I played with them when I was 6 and 7. I stopped playing with them after I reached my preteens. But the '80s was much different, and we just didn't really, we didn't really consider the nobody considered consequences when you're kids. Paul, Jason Pierre-Paul, I mean, he is an adult, and especially when his whole entire livelihood depends on him having his fingers. I would have at least thought that would have came into play before he did that, but it didn't happen, and unfortunately, he had paid a very serious price for it. Again, I hope he can bounce back from this. I hope he can actually have a career. But I have to see it. To me, his injuries are very, very bad. I mean, it really is. Um, what else has been going on? I just saw the Mets play. They lost today, and they're now down 3 games to 1. I hope, I'm not a Mets fan, but I really do hope they do well. But you know what? I give Kansas City a lot of respect. I think a lot of people keep falling asleep on the KCs. The Royals had a great year this year. They got a great team. And to me, they should have won last year. That's how good they are. They came back to back, and right now they're 1 game away from doing that. So who knows? I may have to make a special podcast video just saying congratulations to the Kansas City Royals. But I hope the Mets can bounce back to it. But it's going to be very, very hard. They got to win 3 straight games. That is not easy against the Kansas City Royals. And to me, I always going to go back to they should have won game one. They should have won game one. And to me, that's when the things started turning because the games they have always went back to win. They always won the first game. They won the first game against the Dodgers, beat them in 5. They won the first game against the Cubs, beat them in 4. Here, they're playing from behind, and I don't think the connection should catch up. Again, errors played a very big role, blown saves, and to me, they're going to have to play stellar ball for the remaining of this series. They got one more home game. Hopefully hopefully they don't lose 2 out of 3 at Shea Stadium. I'm still calling it Shea Stadium at Citi Field. And you just gotta pray they can actually extend it to 7 games where all hands on deck. But it's gonna be very hard. It's gonna be very, very hard. That loss was very, 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 very tough to swallow. And one thing I noticed about the Royals, they don't strike out too much, and that's a big, big factor. The Mets hadn't had a stellar strikeout game yet since playing this series. They have not. And to me, that's a very tall order. They have to have a stellar strikeout game, and most importantly, they have to have their best come to life. Dave Wright, although he had a good game 3, he didn't do well in game 4, and a lot of team players haven't downswung the bat. I mean, they had 6 hits altogether, but throughout most majority of the innings, they only had 4. And you can for a team you're facing like the Kansas Royals, who had 7 before inning 6 came in, that is simply not going to tie in. Eventually, they're going to hit, and that's exactly what they did. So they lost 5-3, the final score, but it's not over yet. Hopefully, I don't have to make a video congratulating the Royals just yet, but it's going to be very hard. They got to win three straight. That's all I got to say about that. Spectre is coming out next week. I haven't. I have kept offline about that movie because I'm aware that it's already being played in London. There's been some of a trend now with the James Bond franchise played in their home country first and then come to the United States. And I'm staying away because a lot of people have a habit. They did this with Skyfall. I didn't know they was doing this. A lot of people say, you gotta check out this. I said, I don't want to check out. I want to watch the movie. I don't want to be spoiled here. I want to watch this film. Um, there has I'm keeping away from anything Wikipedia, everything. So I will watch the movie. I promise you, I will have a review up. I want to be surprised. I want to be intrigued by this movie. I want to see where they take this franchise, especially since there's already rumblings going on about Daniel Craig leaving the role of 007, which I can see that happening. He has on the contract, folks. Keep that in mind. One more Bond film. That's pretty much on his thumb. He signed for at least three more Bond films, Skyfall being one of them. He's due to do another one, and that's pretty much it. I think he will leave it at five. Many fans was hoping he would do at least a few more Bond films after that, but I don't think he wants to pass Roger Moore, nor should he. I think that has been. I think the next number 4 or 5 Bonds. I think that pretty much be enough for any actor. He's done a tremendous good job. So, but there are rumblings going on about the character who will be able to replace him. It has always been a very good challenge for the broccoli family to actually pick a Bond that will be better suit. If they do pick a new Bond and they have them already in store, I hope they can advance further to what Daniel Craig had left off, not go backwards. That's the only thing I'm kind of concerned about. But you're hearing a lot of interesting names. Chris Hemsworth, for instance. I'm kind of surprised his name was on there. Benedict Cumberbatch, which I don't think is going to ever take that role. And I think the reason why he got Sherlock Holmes, he actually been signed. He signed for season 4 and 5, and he's doing a special which is due to come out, I believe, this December or January. So he's gonna be busy. I don't think he's gonna take that role. Plus, he's already have movie lines up for him. So it's not like he's gonna be thirsty for a script. He's always going to be working, and I think pretty much people will see Benedict Cumberbatch more as Sherlock Holmes now in this latest version than they would see him as 007. Lucius Alba names continues to come up every time he comes into the in the role. Many people are mixed with that. I don't mind him playing the role. I don't think that's gonna happen, and it's not because of the color thing. Trust me, it's not. I just don't see him betraying. I just don't see that's something he wants to do. Even though he had expressed interest in the past, I just don't see that that working. That clicking. Um, a lot of other characters that they threw out there. Of course, Wolverine, Hugh Jackman has been mentioned. Christopher Stegman, I actually will actually kind of be curious how he will portray Bond. He definitely has the look to do it. I don't know if he has the charisma. Keep in mind the films he have done. They are they are very actiony, but I don't know if he can actually bring out that character of 007 that people have gone to expect. One thing that caught my attention is that when I say he can actually pull it off, is that how he betrayed the first couple of transporter movies he was in. He definitely had that model of a 007 spy in him. I just don't know if he can actually pull it off in terms of everything else that is required. It would be interesting because he could actually change the game, which Daniel Craig has done, as well as Pierce Brosnan, as well as pretty much all the Bond characters. But I think for the fans' sake, I think fans are expecting a certain trait that they come to expect when watching a Bond film. And no, it's not the vodka martinis. No, it's not the catchphrase. But there's something that needs to show when you play Bond. The same thing with Doctor Who. Doctor Who, you know, they're different actors. They have their own way, but there's always something that reminds you that hey, this is Doctor Who. Same thing with Bond. I think the Bond character is something that reminds you that hey, even though there's a different character, that's 007 right now. So it is interesting. They all talking about it, and they've been talking about it a lot more with this movie coming out than they before the movie ended. It's kind of weird how that worked out because normally, and this happened before with Pierce Brosnan when he did The World Is Not Enough. There was rumors flying everywhere that he quit the role or this character would be played the new 007, and it never happened. I forgot the actor who they actually said they could have betrayed. They could betrayed New 007, but Pierce Brosnan was back doing Die Another Day. He was supposed to be back to do another Bond film, but unfortunately, that Bond film did not age well. It did not get a very good reception from a lot of fans. And being with all the new stuff that's going out with Jason Bourne series, the 24 series, which was out during when the time Dawn of Day came out, and the fact that they even admit about the CGI, they decided, you know what, we got to press the reset button, we got to do it again, and we got to bring more of a realistic, edgier style to Bond that people were expected to, and they did. I think that I liked the Casino Royale. I thought Casino Royale was a good Bond film. I didn't have much gripe with Quantum of Solace. And for the record, yes, Quantum of Solace, it was named after a short story of Ian Fleming's. Look it up. It was there. I just felt that the director and the way they approached it was they was trying to satisfy both the old school Bonds and the newer Bond that came to the new Bond fans that came to the series, and it was shown because you had Bond that got hurt, they had Bond that makes mistakes in Casino Royale, but here they was trying to make Bond the way you expect Bond would be with either Roger Moore, where he's taking hits that you normally don't expect a person to survive from. You even saw that a little bit with in the beginning of Skyfall, but we'll all get to that in a second. But most important, I just think he was trying to get a style that wasn't really Bond. Keep in mind, the editing of Quantum of Solace drove me nuts in the first quarter of the movie. It was like all over the place. I didn't know what the hell was going on, and they were doing scenes that you say, "That's Jason Bourne. What are you doing? That's not Bond. That's Jason Bourne. What are you doing? We don't need to see another Jason Bourne film in a Bond film." Eventually, it did calm itself down and got back on track. I actually thought overall the acting was great. And that was actually my first Daniel Craig movie, Quantum of Solace. So I saw it, I watched it, I enjoyed it. But I did felt there was a lot of problems there. That I felt that it was trying to please too many Bond fans. Look, you got to pick one or the other, and I think this is why Sam Mendes, who did Skyfall and also did Spectre, decided to do more. Decided to move away from that and do more of a story-driven Bond and a realistic Bond. Even though some of his choices for Skyfall, I kind of question, and I felt you didn't need to do that, like fighting in total darkness. In silhouette shadows in many scenes was just unnecessary. But overall, I think story-wise, it was intriguing. I liked the story. I liked where this character was going, and I kind of wish they did more of that in the upcoming future. With that being said, I am curious of how Spectre is, because Spectre is supposed to be a true origin story, as if we didn't have seen enough of that already with Bond, of how Bond and how Spectre met. And I know I'm thinking long, but this is actually kind of interesting, because we would have had Spectre years ago. Keep in mind, they actually was fighting for the rights of Spectre for years. Going back to Thunderball, which was supposed to be the first movie of the Bond franchise. The very first film, and they couldn't even do that because Ian Fleming's, and I forgot the guy who actually owned, I think, partial of the rights. He was the same guy who actually produced the James Bond remake of Thunderball called Never Say Never Again. He was actually set to do another remake, again, of the same film, but different script. Even Quentin Tarantino's name was on that one. That was kind of very interesting to see him do a James Bond movie. But there was a lot of issues going on with that, and it actually almost ruined the franchise. That's how serious this lawsuit was. I mean, Bond has history of lawsuits. I mean, you'd be surprised. One of the reasons why you didn't see Timothy Dalton again, it wasn't because he was a bad Bond. I thought he was actually pretty good, despite the fact that he didn't really have a great script with Living Daylights. And even though I considered License to Kill one of my favorite action Bond films, I love the action in the film. It was against a lot of other movies that people was more interested in. It's one of the main reasons why a 007 film will never again be released in the summertime. They have a much better competition around the holiday season, and you know what? It's been proven to work. All the films that came out in the holiday season, from Pierce Brosnan to Daniel Craig, has been successful money making films. So, but at that time, they did have some Bond films that came out in the summer, and it didn't, and it hurt them. It hurt them badly. Especially the License to Kill, which did make its money, but it didn't make what they expected to. They was hoping to do another film with Timothy Dalton, but unfortunately, that 7 year battle suit have actually knocked him out for a while. Many people even doubt that Bond would come back, but he came back with Pierce Brosnan, and he pretty much carried the film. And I say carried because, let's be honest, I liked the era of Pierce Brosnan. I thought he was a great Bond. He was the perfect fit. He was exactly what I felt that Bond should have been. Yet the script was not great. I gotta be real. I mean, the script, he was at the mercy of some very bad script which he had to carry. He carried the Bond franchise throughout the majority of the situation. Some of the decision making with Christmas Jones, I believe I think I call her name right. With her being you knew that she wasn't a nuclear physical, whatever the hell that was. Yeah, and it's kind of fat because Denise Richards was actually voted the worst Bond girl by fans. Actually got a Razzie for it, which was kind of unfair. She wasn't terrible. She was just miscast badly. It was not a good casting decision, especially that character that they try to pretend. Love the villain though in that movie. She was actually pretty good. The villainess that like that is. And let's be honest, I like Dawn of the Day. I agree with some of the people who has been arguing about that from Mad Expression for years. I thought Dawn of the Day was a fun film to watch, but the CGI and the dialogue have hurt this movie. It really did hurt this movie. The dialogue was just insane. I mean, the puns or whatever reference they want to continue through just the CGI, which I think really hurt the film a lot more than even the dialogue did, because they did, and most Bond films, you go back to them, they did have some bad dialogues in some of these Bond films in the 70s, and even in the Connery era, they had some crazy dialogues back then, but it was the CGI that hurt Dying on a Day a lot more, and that it aged it pretty badly over the years. People don't even talk about Dying on a Day as much as they used to. But I don't knock Dying on a Day in terms of, oh, it's a bad film. I actually thought it was a fun, entertainment film. I'm planning to do a flashback review on it. But again, I think that was that's when the pendulum actually switched. It switched from that to basically them saying, okay, we rely too much, and they admit it, they relied too much on CGI and not enough on what made Bond so good in the first place, and that is the exotic location, the interesting set pieces, the villains that you can remember, even those who are goofy. They went back to that, and it took a while because there's still some stuff I have a problem with, being the fact that this is the most romantic Bond I have ever seen in the franchise. That's the only weakness I think I have with Daniel Craig, is that, and all I think I said this before. Look back at Casino Royale, how he spoke to one of the girls who died in the end, in the end, and you hear how he's reacting and his facial expressions. Like, you don't go to a guy, you don't walk with a guy who has that expression. He has an expression of a serial killer. He is a killer, but he's a government killer. Bond had a certain way of charming people. Don't really get that from Daniel Craig, and not just this film, but in all three films. And can we please have a Bond girl that lives in the end? Does he get the girl in the end finally, Inspector? I'm kind of curious, because when you hear that music, and I love A Magic Secret Service theme song. I think the theme of that, and it's actually considered the secondary Bond theme to Monty Norman's original Bond theme. Um, It doesn't sound like somebody's gonna know that one of these characters going to survive. I hope I'm wrong, but I do like to see a Bond girl be with Bond. I mean, period. So other than that, Bond has a very interesting history, and a lot of people is kind of curious. I'm actually curious of what script they actually changed because there was that since they got hacked, I believe they did some lot of changes to the Bond script because of that incident. So I'm kind of curious of what was the original concept after seeing this film and what would they actually was going for. I am also curious if actually if this is Christoph Waltz is Blofeld or someone else because they really haven't hinted. Even though, come on, man, it has to be Blofeld. It has to be him. I mean, I actually want to. And if that is Blofeld, can we please see him be Price's role? The one thing I always hated with the Bond series, I love Donald Pleasant's portrayal of Blofeld. He is the model for Doctor Evil. No one else is. But Tully Savalas as Blofeld, I didn't buy into it at all. And I definitely was kind of stunned that they went for the same guy who was supposed to be the informant for Bond in You Only Live Twice to be Blofeld in Diamonds Are Forever. I mean, he went from bald to I guess he got hair now. I guess he surgery himself. It's movies. It is what it is. But to me, I'm actually curious if that's is Blofeld. And if it is, and it's revealed to be Blofeld, I know a lot of people probably already know who he is. I know that you guys in London have seen the movie. Don't tell me who it is. Let me enjoy this Bond film. I waited to see a Spectre film for years. There haven't been a Spectre since Diamonds Are Forever. I know people say, well, Blofeld technically was in For Your Eyes Only. He was in the beginning segment and they got rid of him quick. I don't count that. I mean, we hadn't had Spectre in almost wow, God, Lord, I think it was 10 films now. 10, 12 films. This is Bond 24 now. Can we, and I'm like, can we have that kind of villain? I'm kind of curious how Dave Bautista is going to portray this odd type villain. I'm actually looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing what is in store. I'm also want to see this close a chapter on Quantum because I think now that they have Spectre, we're gonna have Spectre as the main organization Bond has to face, and it should be that way. Quantum, no question, why it was brought up to play. It was actually even thought about being brought back into the next installment of Daniel Craig's third film, which is Skyfall, but never really came to fruition. I'm actually glad they have it here. I'm actually glad that they're going to bring Mr. White back. It's kind of curious of if he lives because originally he was supposed to die in Quantum, but they didn't do that. Which I think that was a smart move on the director's part. Say, look, I'm not gonna kill him off. They may want to use him for something. He may be a force to be reckoned with, and probably would have been Bond's nemesis if it had they not gotten the rights to use Spectre and his characters back. But now the Spectre's back, and now it's pretty much one thing I'm not spoiling. Quantum was a small branch of Spectre, and we're gonna see how that plays in. A lot of stuff I'm actually am curious about. I already know this daughter is gonna play a role in this film. That's the model, Lucci, I think her name is. I know you guys gonna correct me on that. So I'm actually kind of interested on seeing how that works. I'm interested in seeing how that plays in. And now let's talk about the music. You know something? I like this music. I never heard this artist before, so I'm hearing is for the first time being fresh right off the bat. Writing on the Wall is actually a perfect fit. It definitely feels like a Bond song. It took me a couple of sit downs to listen to it to get the feel for it. Um, do I like this song better than Skyfall? That's a good question. I never really actually compared the two, but I actually do like the sound. I was curious about who was going to play the theme song because when you see the word Spectre, I think, what song can actually hit? What song could they actually make naming Spectre? It's almost impossible. There are certain theme songs that's almost impossible to do. Um, One of them happens to be Quantum of Solace, which I did hear the some of the rejected themes, and some of them was actually pretty good. The one I never understand, and I'm glad that YouTube fanfic movie makers have utilized it because it's a very good song, and it shows how this is the one time I actually believe they definitely dropped the ball. They dropped the ball a lot of times when it came to the Bond females, but this was one of them I definitely think they should have kept. Forever I Am Yours. You know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I'll leave a link so you can listen to it. I'm pretty sure it's still up on YouTube somewhere so you guys can listen to it. But it's one of the best songs. And I'm like, they picked Jack White, which I have no problem with, and Alicia Keys. I think they're both talented, but together, it seemed like they were stepping over each other. And that was the big problem with Another Way to Die. Skyfall brought it back. I like the Skyfall. A lot of my friends from Mad Expression didn't. But I felt when I listened to it, I said, this is reminding me of Goldfinger. This reminded me of what Bond's music was back then. This is a song that reminds me a little bit of how Tom Jones went with it, mixed in with You Only Twice. It's subtle, it's dark, it's letting you know things have changed. And if you've seen the trailers, if you've seen how Bond direction, things have indeed changed. We are seeing the Bond that we have seen throughout doing his tenured years. We didn't see that with the Daniel Craig story. Keep in mind he met M doing the most weirdest locations in a house twice in the series. That was by Judi Dench. And for the record, guys, the Judi Dench M on Daniel Craig's reboot is not the same Judi Dench M in the Pierce Brosnan. They are totally two different things. They brung it pretty much. They made it be known this is a different series, and they did a great job of, you didn't really question it because Judi Dench is a magnificent actress, and she's done a tremendously good job with this role. Not since Bernard Lee, the late Bernard Lee, have we had a M that we really actually care for. She really was a mother figure, more so than the boss, but she was one of those stern mother figures that you say, okay, she's no joke, but you respect her and you will do your job because you know she will get on you. And I actually liked it that between that. This movie went to full circle, and this music is letting you know we're in full circle. There's no turning back. We're now officially back to where 007 has been. With that being said, could you please give me my gun barrel back? I know that people. I'm a guy who that's the only thing I don't want touched. I want my gun barrel back in the beginning of the movie. It shouldn't be no reason now to not have that gun barrel scene back in the movie the way it belongs. That gun barrel scene is a signature of Bond, and it drove me nuts. More so with the two films, because at least with the first film, it made sense. He wasn't 007 yet. He didn't earn that gun barrel yet. But they had that gun barrel in the last scene in Quantum of Solace. They had that gun barrel again in Skyfall. I'm like, come on. Have the gun scene where it belongs in the beginning of the freaking movie. I just ask. Please, I beg you. Give me back my gun scene. Give me back my gun scene. I want that gun barrel scene back to where it is. You don't have to give me a CGI bullet going through it. You don't have to make it all glamorous and just give me the old classic back, and I'll be happy. I'll be very, very happy. Thomas Newman is back to do the theme. I was not very thrilled with the Skyfall overall theme. I really wasn't. It was okay. Not much memorable. I'm kind of curious how he will do it with this theme. I did hear samples. I believe it was Backfire was one of the themes that they had. I was not really impressed because it sounded like he just recycled Skyfall and just put new sound towards Backfire. And I believe that it was track number 5. That a friend of mine asked me to check. I'm not too sure, but I'm listening to it. And it's like, this is Skyfall. There's nothing new here. So I'm not. I don't want to say that he hasn't really had nothing else to offer. I know that's this Sam Mendes guy. He's been in a lot of films, just like John Williams with Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. This is his guy. He's gonna go with his guy. I have no problem with that. But the one thing I miss about David Arnold is he mixed it in. Even though it did sound some of the same, he knew when to put the Bond theme in. He knew when not to put the Bond theme. But it felt like it's a brand new sound on each of the movies he made. I know a lot of people felt that he dropped the ball with Quantum. I thought it was a good soundtrack, but I understand why it is. It's not one of the most memorable. I liked it how he did "Tomorrow Never Dies." That was one of my personal favorite soundtracks that I loved. I even liked it the composer's cut, because there's two different versions: the original one, which didn't have the whole entire Bond theme, and the composer's cut that just have all his themes, including the ones that was not added in the U.S. Soundtrack. I liked that the world is not enough. I liked the Die Another Day, the orchestra version, and I even liked the way he did the Casino Royale. I really did. I thought that he really respects and understands and gets the importance of having a strong James Bond music being pulsed into it. And if you look at his other work, his other examples, where he actually redid some of the old James Bond themes, you can tell that he had a lot of passion for the series. With that being said, there is a lot of people who was upset about one thing, and I can't blame them. I think that's one thing that always bothered me about some of the themes. If you ever noticed that most of the Bond soundtracks don't have the main theme, I mean, Quantum had it. I think it was at the very end of the soundtrack, but it seemed like the artists have not had made it their business not to put the Bond theme song that was in the movie not in the soundtrack, and that always seemed to bug me out a little bit. Like, why? What's the problem? I mean, it's a Bond theme song. It belonged in the James Bond soundtrack. But that happened with You Know My Name. You Know My Name is not in the Casino Royale. Skyfall not in the Bond soundtrack. You only can get it as a single. It drives me nuts. I say, why? What's the point? Because you want to feel like it's your own. It's gonna be your own. That's yours. It's your music. You can have it. I mean, come on. I mean, can we put your music in a Bond soundtrack where it belongs? And I don't know if they're gonna do it here. I think they will, but that was the only thing that bugs me out. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you taking this out? It doesn't make no sense. It really don't. That always drove me nuts, and even many people said, why didn't he even put this here? I mean, granted, I still will buy the soundtrack because I like the score, I like the music, but I just felt there's a little bit of an attitude or a certain cockiness or smug when artists start to do that. I really do. I don't like when they do that. I mean, it is still your music. I understand, but it was a music made for this particular movie. It should be in the soundtrack. Um, the same thing with Madonna. I was kind of fascinated how Madonna did "This Used to Be My Playground" as a single, but never put it on the soundtrack, which bugged me out. I'm like, why? Why? What's the problem? What's the big deal? It's a great music. Why shouldn't I keep it away from the soundtrack? I always found that it gives a bad message when artists do that. Sometimes it really does. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with this soundtrack. I think people who want to buy the soundtrack, who love the soundtrack, should have the entire soundtrack and not have to go scrambling all over the World Wide Web or even the record stores to get a single of something that should be on the soundtrack. It's just me, but you guys may disagree. There is your James Bond in a nutshell. I did a whole entire segment on James Bond nutshell, and there's a reason why that I did it. And that's me. You're gonna hear a lot more when Star Wars come to play, because I got a lot to say about Star Wars, and I'm keeping that for different podcasts, a different entertainment roundup. This is a roundup for a reason, and this is something also get used to, because I'm not gonna just talk about stories, but something specifically in a one topic, because it is something I was thinking for a long time, and I'm just testing this one out to see if it works better. But needless to say, I'm actually am curious as to the reaction. A lot of people are looking forward for this movie. A lot of people are, but this is going to be facing him stiff competition. November is like June for movies right now. You got a lot of movies, a lot of people are looking forward to. And December is no different. You got Star Wars coming out. You got Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 2, which awesome trailer, by the way. That got me pumped up. And I'm not even into the Mockingjay, the Hunger Games series like a lot of people are. But I do know that a lot of people consider that's the best out of the young adult adaptations that have been coming out over the last years. And I gotta tell you, this is gonna be very interesting to see how they end that series, uh, because they look like it's all going full stops. I know a lot of people are looking forward. A lot of people who read the book. It's like, yeah, I can't wait. They're pumped up. So enjoy your film. I hope that this film works out. Um, I will talk about one more story before heading off. My overall feeling for the summer blockbusters. Now, if you guys have saw my last recording of J&J Monday, which if that means when I say last, I mean matexpression.com. Um, I was kind of surprised at how lack. Even though technically it was a good year for a film that came out in the summertime, this has been the most lackluster summer in terms of movie releases I've ever seen. A lot of films was either underperformed, underwhelmed, or just wasn't really didn't have that zap that I actually expected. A lot of film that was normally supposed to come out in the summertime came out during the early spring, so I don't even count that as summer blockbusters. August was a very bad year for films. A lot of movies came out in August just basically tanked. Films that like Fantastic Four, oh my God, Pixel, you name it, it was just there, and it just to me, it's like it really does reflection. It's a good, not a good sign when you see summer blockbuster films like this. There's doesn't do well as one expected. Matter of fact, a lot of independent movies have done actually pretty good, more better than some of them high blockbusters, and that's not a coincidence. And At the same time, we see a lot of films that not coming out in the summer blockbusters, like Star Wars, which is actually going back to their roots of being released during the holidays and not in the summertime. To the Hunger Games, which is not a summer blockbuster, but again, a winter blockbuster. So we're starting to see a trend, and I actually want to ask you a question. Do you believe that we're seeing a shift in power where the winter they come in new summer, or do you think it's pretty much a little bit of both? I'd like to hear what you have to say about it, because personally, I'm more excited for the films coming out in the next 2 months than I had been for the film that came out 6 months ago. I was not really. I mean, I was pumped seeing the Avengers. I liked the movie, but I wasn't as I wasn't up there like I wanted to be. Of course, this may all change next year. You do have Batman vs Superman. You also have the Suicide Squad. You have a lot of films coming out from Marvel that looks to be interesting. You have Deadpool. There's gonna be a lot of good films that are gonna be coming out. The FNF7, which is, if you guys don't know what that is, Fast and Furious. That's a film that's definitely gonna be interesting, and more so to the fact that how they will move on without Paul Walker. This will be the film that doesn't will not have one of their main stars there. So it's kind of curious how they're gonna tie all that stuff in. With that being said, I just don't know. I see more films being released during the springtime and during late fall, early winter than I do see in the summertime. Summertime is it's actually fading in many ways. I think a lot of studios are starting to realize that you don't need to cram all your movie in the summertime. You can actually spread it out like they should. But so I may be overlooking this. You guys may think that I'm crazy thinking about this, but I like to hear what you have to say. I like to hear your opinion on that. I like to hear what you guys have to go on that. All right, guys, that's all I got to say about this entertainment roundup, James Bond edition, because it is a 007 edition that I wanted to talk about. I'd like to hear from you guys who are James Bond fans. What's your feeling on this? Are you pumped up? Are you ready for Bond? Are you ready for it to make a return? I would ask for those who are my UK listeners, do not tell me the movie. Say you like it, say you didn't like it, but don't spoil nothing for me. I want to be surprised. I want to be amazed. I want to be impressed. And with that being said, this is J77 saying take care, be safe. I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.